Album 17, Concert for Bangladesh. An idea after George heard about the famine and the war in India and discussed it with his good friend Ravi Shankar. It's a 3-record set, a live album, and was also a film in 1971. It's August 1st, 1971, Madison Square Garden, New York. It was the first of its kind, first ever benefit of this magnitude with 40,000 people. They took $250,000 at the gate, and in 1985 the film and this album had made $12 million for UNICEF and the George Harrison Fund. It was the first one well before Live Aid, Farm Aid, and all the good ones. As of 2011, the sales for the Harrison Fund and UNICEF raised $1.2 million for the children in the Horn of Africa. And the performers are George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston, Leon Russell, Badfinger, Ravi Shankar, and Ali Akbar Khan. They both had ancestral roots to Bangladesh. And Raga is a good film. It explains the musician, the people, how important the music is, and the spirit of the country. And Harrison worked on that, so check that out. And due to not being able to use the songs from this album, I'm going to be using various songs from these albums, and All Things Must Pass. So, I would like to talk about that one as well. It was George's first solo album after the breakup from the Beatles. It was recorded May through October of 1970 and released November 27 of the same year. It's 105 minutes long and 59 seconds. It's under the folk rock genre, under Apple. Produced by George and Phil Spector. In the music world, big deal. He did some work with Yoko's band and then Teddy Bears. Both the cover on this one and that one was by the same two people, Tom Wilkes and Barry Feinstein. And if you look like I have, you'll notice that between the two albums, several folks worked together. Again, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Billy Preston, Eric Clapton, and Ginger Baker, which were in Cream together. And then Ginger had Air Force, and then of course Derek and the Dominoes for Eric, and then Eric. And a little inside joke, Phil Collins did Roy Cooper on the Congos on here. And there's so many to mention I can't. But I wanted to talk about is, I'm going to probably play My Sweet Lord, which is one of my favorite songs, and then All Things Must Pass. And if you want, leave a comment on my highlighter, my 20, your favorite song, your favorite album, or what you're listening, or just say hi. So, check both albums out. Please do, you won't be disappointed. I wanted to let you know that Eric had been working with the Beatles early on in the career, and remind you that he did do While My Guitar Gently Weeps on the White Album. And part of that was to ease the tension between the group, who had a lot of friction. Not very many years together, but a lot of hits. And after Clapton was there, Harrison admitted that it worked. So much that when Harrison quit the group for a minute, John Lennon approached Clapton to join the Beatles. He never did. George and Eric remained good friends, and the rest is history. So, check them out. George Harrison was known as the Quiet Beatle. He was born February 25th, 1943 in Liverpool, England, and passed away on November 29th of 2001. He was active 1958 to 2001. He was a musician. He was a writer. He was a guitarist, a music and film producer. His first group was a skiffle group, which is jazz, blues, American folk music with a mixture of homemade instruments. Their group name was the Rebels, and Peter, his brother, was in the group, and then his friend as well, which was Arthur Kelly. Shortly after that, he met Paul McCartney, joined the Quarrymen, became the lead guitarist of the Beatles, and eventually of Woolberry. So, he worked with countless musicians and artists and played various instruments. Besides guitar, he could play the Indian sitar, the tabla, the ukulele, the flutes, the rabuka, Templar drums, and I hope I'm saying those right. He was a charitable man, a vegetarian, deeply spiritual, a white soul. You know, he believed in the tradition of the Hare Krishna, particularly the japa yoga chanting with beads. Again, learned a lot from Ami Shankar. He believed in peace and love. He shared it with his music and friends throughout his career. He was the quiet Beatle, but he lived a very loud life. And just a few facts about him. And I want to just start off by saying he co-composed the first two recorded Quarrymen songs, one of them In Spite of All the Danger. He was the first Beatle to have a solo #1 hit, which was My Sweet Lord. It was #1 for 4 weeks. He wrote songs, and one of them was Something, and it's the second most covered Beatles song. Lennon had said that it was the best song on Abbey Road. McCartney said it was the best song that George had ever written. George also wrote Taxman, and I think it's, you'll hear. For the concert for Bangladesh, the IRS delayed the funds for India. They wanted their cut first. Go figure. He was the first Beatle to visit the United States in 1963 in Illinois to visit his sister, and even made time to do a show at a VFW. He also saved Monty Python. EMI was going to stop paying for Life of Brian, so George mortgaged his house for $5 million and started a production company, Handmade Films. So, Monty Python fans, thanks George. He was asked why, and he said, well, I liked the script, and I simply wanted to see it. We know how expensive movie tickets are today. That's an expensive movie ticket. There are so many things to talk about with George, and if I did, this thing would be forever. So I just wanted to go ahead and say, check out this album, check out All Things Must Pass on my story and my highlights under 20, and also Brainwash, which was his last album. I love Any Road, Rising Sun, Run So Far, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. Okay, all of them. Brainwash. Definitely worth a listen. And then also, I want you to check out a concert for George. The reason I love it so much is it was a year after he passed at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And Dhani Harrison, his son from his second wife Olivia, played While My Guitar Gently Weeps alongside Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Ringo Starr, Steve Winwood, Prince, and others. A very fitting tribute to George. And to quote Harrison's last words, love one another. Words so true today in these uncertain times. So I just want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope you and yours are doing well, staying safe, staying healthy. And I just wanted to say that I love you. Have a good night, my friends.